The old blue van pulled up to Sunshine Care Home on a rainy Tuesday morning. Through the foggy windows, residents could see a woman sitting alone in the back seat. She held a small brown suitcase on her lap and stared straight ahead. When the van door opened, the woman stepped out slowly. Half of her face looked different from what people expected to see. Scars ran down her left cheek, and her left eye was smaller than her right one. When she tried to speak to the driver, the words came out unclear and hard to understand. "Thank you," she managed to say, though it sounded more like, "tank-oo." The driver just nodded quickly and drove away without looking back. The woman stood on the sidewalk for a moment, raindrops hitting her gray coat. She looked up at the big building that would be her new home. 3 stories high with small windows. It looked more like a hospital than a place where people lived. Inside the lobby, other residents pretended to read magazines or watch TV, but their eyes kept glancing toward the entrance. When the woman walked in, conversation stopped. Some people turned away. Others stared openly before whispering to whoever sat next to them. Mrs. Rodriguez, the head nurse, came forward with a clipboard. She had seen many new residents arrive over the years, but she still felt uncomfortable when she saw the woman's face. "You must be Anna," Mrs. Rodriguez said, speaking louder than necessary, as if the woman couldn't hear well. Anna nodded and tried to smile, but only the right side of her mouth moved properly. This made her smile look crooked, which made people even more uncomfortable. "Let me show you to your room," Mrs. Rodriguez said, walking quickly toward the elevator. As they walked through the main room, Anna noticed how people moved their chairs slightly away from her path. She had seen this reaction her whole life, but it still hurt every time. The elevator ride was quiet except for the humming of old machinery. Mrs. Rodriguez kept checking her watch, eager to finish this task and move on to something else. "Here's your room," Mrs. Rodriguez said, opening a door marked 12B. "Your roommate moved out last week, so you'll have it to yourself for now." The room was small and plain. 2 beds, 2 dressers, and 1 window that looked out at the parking lot. Anna set her suitcase on the bed closer to the window and opened it. Inside were a few old clothes, some family photos, and a small box of colorful paper. "Dinner is at 6, Mrs. Rodriguez said from the doorway. "The dining room is on the 1st floor. Someone will show you where everything is." After Mrs. Rodriguez left, Anna sat on her bed and looked around her new home. She had lived in places like this before. Group homes, assisted living centers, temporary housing. Always temporary because eventually someone would complain about her appearance or her speech, and she would have to move again. Anna picked up one of her photos. It showed her as a little girl with her grandmother, before the accident that changed everything. Back then she looked like any other child. Back then people didn't look away when she smiled. She was 7 years old when the fire happened. Their small apartment building had old wiring, and one winter night sparks flew from a broken outlet. Anna's grandmother tried to carry her to safety, but part of the ceiling fell on them. Her grandmother didn't survive. Anna did, but the burns on her face and the damage to her throat changed how she looked and sounded forever. After that, Anna lived with different relatives who all said they wanted to help. But children at school made fun of her. Adults stared and whispered. Family gatherings became uncomfortable. One by one, her relatives found reasons why they couldn't take care of her anymore. "It's not that we don't love you," they would say. "It's just that you need special care." Special care always meant the same thing, somewhere else, with people who were paid to deal with her. Now, at 45 years old, Anna had lived in 12 different care facilities. Some were better than others, but none felt like home. In each place, she was the person others avoided, the one who made mealtimes awkward and visiting days embarrassing for the staff. Anna opened her box of colored paper and began folding. Her grandmother had taught her how to make paper birds before the accident. Over the years, this became Anna's way of staying calm when the world felt too harsh. As she folded a piece of blue paper, Anna heard voices in the hallway. Through her thin door, she could hear 2 residents talking. "Did you see the new woman?" one voice said. "Hard to miss her," another replied. "What happened to her face?" "I don't know, but I hope they don't put her at my dinner table. Maybe she won't stay long. People like that usually get moved around a lot." Anna's hand stopped folding for a moment. She took a deep breath and continued working on her paper crane. She had heard conversations like this hundreds of times. People thought she couldn't hear them, or maybe they didn't care if she could. That evening, Anna walked into the dining room. About 30 people sat at round tables throughout the large space. The room went quiet when she appeared. Anna stood near the entrance holding her dinner tray, looking for an empty seat. At the first table, an elderly man saw her coming and quickly put his jacket on the empty chair next to him. At the second table, a woman pretended not to see Anna waiting and kept talking loudly about her grandson's baseball game. Finally, Anna found an empty table in the corner near the kitchen doors. She sat down alone and began eating her meatloaf and mashed potatoes. The food wasn't bad, but eating alone made everything taste bland. As Anna ate, she noticed something interesting. At a small table near the window, a young boy sat by himself too. He looked about 8 years old and kept his eyes focused on his plate. Other children his age sat together at a different table, laughing and trading snacks. But this boy remained alone, just like her. The boy had dark hair that needed cutting and wore a blue sweater that was too big for him. Every few minutes, he would look up from his food and glance around the room. When his eyes met Anna's, he didn't look away or make a face like most people did. He just looked at her like she was a regular person. Anna tried to smile at him, forgetting for a moment how her crooked smile looked to others. The boy didn't seem bothered by it. He gave her a small wave with his fork before going back to his dinner. After dinner, Anna learned more about life at Sunshine Care Home. The TV room had 3 channels, and the residents argued about what to watch every night. The library had mostly old romance novels and outdated magazines. The craft room was only open on Wednesdays and only for 2 hours. Most importantly, Anna learned the unspoken rules. Don't sit too close to others. Don't try to join conversations unless invited. Don't make people uncomfortable by being too friendly. Stay quiet, stay invisible, and maybe people would tolerate your presence. But Anna had also learned something else during dinner. She wasn't the only lonely person at Sunshine Care Home. That boy eating alone by the window looked just as forgotten as she felt. As Anna got ready for bed in her empty room, she thought about the boy's small wave. It was the first friendly gesture she had received in months. Tomorrow, she decided, she would try to sit closer to his table. Maybe they could be lonely together, which might feel a little less lonely than being alone. Anna fell asleep holding one of her paper cranes, hoping that tomorrow would bring at least one person who wouldn't look away when she tried to smile. 3 days had passed since Anna arrived at Sunshine Care Home. She had tried sitting near the boys' table during lunch, but every time she got close, other residents would find reasons to fill the nearby seats. The boy noticed her attempts and started saving his apple from lunch to give her a small wave across the room. Anna learned the boy's name was David. He lived in the children's wing of the building, where kids who couldn't stay with families lived temporarily. The staff talked about David in whispers, saying he barely spoke to anyone since arriving 6 months ago. Poor thing, Anna heard one nurse say. Lost his parents in a terrible car crash. Been through 3 different families already. None of them could handle his behavior. Anna understood about being too difficult for people to handle. On Thursday night, Anna was reading an old magazine in her room when she heard strange sounds from somewhere nearby. At first, she thought it was the old heating system making noise. But then she realized someone was struggling to breathe. The sounds came from the children's wing just down the hall from the adult rooms. Anna put on her slippers and stepped into the hallway. The night nurse was doing rounds on the first floor, and the hallway was dark except for small emergency lights. The breathing sounds grew louder as Anna followed them. She found David sitting on the floor outside his room, gasping for air. His face looked pale and his lips had a blue tint that Anna recognized from her own medical emergencies. David's eyes went wide when he saw Anna approaching. He tried to speak but could only make wheezing sounds. Anna knelt down beside him, moving slowly so she wouldn't scare him. "Can't breathe?" Anna asked, her words still unclear but gentle. David nodded, panic showing in his eyes. Anna had seen asthma attacks before. During her years in different care facilities, she had watched other residents struggle with breathing problems. She knew David needed to stay calm and find a position that would help him breathe easier. "It's okay," Anna said, sitting down next to David. "Breathe slow." She demonstrated by taking slow, deep breaths herself. David tried to copy her, but his breathing was still rapid and shallow. Anna looked around and saw David's inhaler on the floor near his room. It must have fallen when he stumbled into the hallway. She picked it up and showed it to him. "This help?" she asked. David reached for the inhaler with shaking hands, but he was too panicked to use it properly. Anna had watched nurses help other residents with inhalers. She gently guided David's hands to show him how to hold it correctly. "Breathe out first," Anna said, demonstrating again. David followed her instructions. Anna helped him position the inhaler and counted with her fingers. 1, 2, 3. David pressed the inhaler and breathed in the medicine. Anna continued counting slowly with her fingers, helping him hold his breath for a few seconds before breathing out. They repeated this process 3 times. Gradually, David's breathing became less frantic. The blue color left his lips and he could sit up straighter. "Better?" Anna asked. David nodded, still breathing carefully but no longer gasping for air. Anna stayed with David until the night nurse finally came upstairs for her rounds. When the nurse saw them sitting together in the hallway, she looked confused and slightly annoyed. "What's going on here?" the nurse asked. "He couldn't breathe," Anna explained, her words coming out slowly. "Had attack." The nurse quickly checked David's breathing and pulse. "His oxygen levels are normal now," she said, more to herself than to Anna. "David, what happened?" David looked at Anna, then back at the nurse. In a quiet voice, he said, "She helped me." These were the first words the staff had heard David speak in weeks. The nurse helped David back to his room and made notes in his medical chart. She thanked Anna politely but seemed surprised that Anna had known what to do. The next morning at breakfast, Anna saw David looking for her in the dining room. When he spotted her at her usual corner table, he walked over carrying his tray. "Can I sit here?" David asked quietly. Anna smiled her crooked smile and nodded. For the first time since arriving at Sunshine Care Home, she wouldn't be eating alone. David sat down and began eating his pancakes. After a few minutes, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small paper napkin. He had drawn a picture of 2 stick figures sitting together. "Thank you," David said, sliding the drawing toward Anna. Anna looked at the simple drawing and felt tears starting in her eyes. She quickly wiped them away and pulled out a piece of colored paper from her own pocket. "I make these," Anna said, showing David a small yellow paper crane. David's eyes lit up. "How do you do that?" Anna spent the rest of breakfast showing David how to fold paper. Her thick fingers moved slowly and carefully, demonstrating each step. David watched intently, asking questions when he didn't understand. "My grandma taught me," Anna explained, "before she died." "My mom used to draw with me," David said quietly. Before the accident, they worked on paper folding together and other residents began to notice. Some people still moved away when Anna approached, but David's presence seemed to make her less threatening to others. Mrs. Rodriguez, the head nurse, watched their interaction with interest. David had been withdrawn and difficult since arriving at the facility. He rarely spoke to adults and never played with other children. But with Anna, he seemed relaxed and engaged. "It's unusual," Mrs. Rodriguez told another staff member, "but if it helps David open up, maybe it's a good thing." Over the next few days, Anna and David developed a routine. They ate meals together, with David saving seats and Anna bringing colored paper for folding. They found a quiet corner in the library where Anna taught David more complex paper designs. David learned that Anna had lived in many places like Sunshine Care Home. Anna learned that David missed his parents terribly and had nightmares about the car accident that killed them. "Why don't people like you?" David asked one afternoon as they worked on paper flowers. Anna had been asked this question before, usually by curious children before their parents pulled them away. But David asked without meanness, just honest curiosity. "I look different," Anna said simply. "People scared of different." "I don't think you look scary," David said. "You look sad sometimes, but not scary." Anna stopped folding her paper and looked at David. "You different too," she said. "That's why we friends." David smiled, the first real smile staff members had seen from him since his arrival. Their friendship began to change other people's opinions too. When residents saw David laughing at Anna's jokes or helping her reach things on high shelves, they started to see Anna differently. She wasn't just the woman with the damaged face. She was someone who could make a sad little boy happy. The other children in the facility began joining David and Anna during craft time. Anna's patience and gentle teaching style worked well with kids who had experienced trauma. She never pushed them to talk about their problems, but she showed them how to create beautiful things with their hands. "She's really good with the children," one of the younger nurses observed. Maybe we should ask her to help with our art therapy sessions. Mrs. Rodriguez wasn't sure about this idea. Anna wasn't a trained therapist or teacher, but she couldn't argue with the results. David was sleeping better, participating in activities, and even talking to his social worker about his feelings. More importantly, other residents were beginning to accept Anna's presence. They still didn't invite her to join their conversations, but they stopped deliberately avoiding her. Some even nodded hello when they passed her in the hallways. Anna felt something she hadn't experienced in years: belonging. She had a friend who looked forward to seeing her every day. She had a purpose, teaching children how to create beauty from simple paper. She had hope that maybe, just maybe, this place could become home. But Anna had learned not to get too comfortable in any place. She had been happy before, only to have it taken away when someone decided she didn't fit in. For now, she would enjoy her friendship with David and hope it would last longer than her previous attempts at connection. As Anna fell asleep each night, she could hear David sleeping peacefully in the children's wing. No more panic attacks, no more crying in the hallway, just the quiet breathing of a child who finally felt safe. Tomorrow, Anna decided she would teach David how to make paper butterflies, something beautiful that could fly even if they couldn't. 2 weeks after David's asthma attack, his social worker came for her monthly visit. Janet Williams had been working with troubled children for 15 years, and David's case worried her more than most. 3 foster families had returned him, each saying he was too difficult to handle. Time was running out to find him a permanent home. Janet expected to find David in his usual state, quiet, withdrawn, and uncooperative during their meetings. Instead, she found him in the craft room laughing with Anna as they made paper animals together. "Look, Miss Janet," David called out, running to show her a paper elephant he had made. "Anna taught me how to make the trunk curve." Janet stared at David in surprise. She hadn't heard him speak with enthusiasm about anything since his parents died. She looked across the room at Anna, who was helping 2 other children fold paper birds. "Who is that woman?" Janet asked Mrs. Rodriguez quietly. "That's Anna. She arrived about 3 weeks ago. She and David have become quite close." Janet watched Anna interact with the children. Her speech was hard to understand and her appearance was certainly unusual, but the children didn't seem to mind. They listened carefully when she spoke and waited patiently when she had trouble with words. "Is she qualified to work with children?" Janet asked. "She's not an employee," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. "She's a resident here. But she's been wonderful with David. His behavior has improved dramatically since they became friends." Janet felt uncomfortable about this arrangement. In her experience, vulnerable children needed professional care, not friendship with other residents who had their own problems. During her meeting with David, Janet tried to understand his relationship with Anna. "Tell me about your friend Anna," Janet said. "She's really nice," David replied. "She teaches me how to make things and she helped me when I couldn't breathe. She never gets mad at me like other grown-ups do." "What do you mean she helped you breathe?" David explained about his asthma attack and how Anna had stayed with him until the nurse came. Janet made notes in her file, concerned about a resident providing medical assistance without proper training. "David, you know Anna isn't your family, right?" Janet said gently. "She's just a friend. We're still working to find you a real family to live with." David's expression changed. "I don't want another family. They always send me back. Anna likes me the way I am, but Anna can't take care of you properly. She has her own challenges to deal with." "What challenges?" David asked. "She's the smartest person I know. She can make anything with paper and she tells the best stories." Janet realized that David didn't see Anna's limitations the way adults did. To him, she was simply a friend who accepted him unconditionally. After her visit, Janet spoke with her supervisor, Robert Chen, about the situation. "I'm concerned about this attachment," Janet explained. "David has bonded with a resident who clearly has developmental issues and communication problems. This could interfere with placing him in a proper family." "What kind of background does this woman have?" Robert asked. "I'll need to review her file, but Mrs. Rodriguez says she's been in the system for years. Multiple placements, no family support. Not exactly the kind of influence we want for a child who needs stability." Robert nodded. "We should consider moving David to a different facility. The longer he stays attached to this woman, the harder it will be to transition him to a real family." But moving David wasn't simple. Sunshine Care Home was the only facility in the area with space for children, and David's previous placements had been in other cities. Moving him again would mean starting over with new doctors, new therapists, and new social workers. Let me observe their interaction first, Janet decided. Maybe we can gradually reduce their contact time while keeping David in the same facility. The next week, Janet returned for an unscheduled visit. She wanted to see David and Anna together without them knowing they were being evaluated. She found them in the library during quiet time. Anna was reading a children's book out loud, struggling with some of the words but continuing patiently. David helped her with difficult words and asked questions about the story. "Why did the little bird leave its nest?" David asked. Anna thought for a moment. "Sometimes you have to leave safe place to find where you really belong," she said slowly. "But what if you never find where you belong?" "Then you make new nest with people who care about you," Anna replied. "Family not always about blood, sometimes about heart." Janet listened to this conversation with mixed feelings. Anna's words were wise, but her speech difficulties made her seem less capable than she actually was. David hung on every word Anna said, clearly viewing her as a source of wisdom and comfort. When Janet revealed herself, David's mood immediately changed. He became guarded and quiet, the same way he acted during their official meetings. "Hello, Miss Janet," David said politely but without enthusiasm. "Hi, David, I came to see how you're doing." David glanced at Anna, who smiled encouragingly. "I'm doing good. Anna and I are reading about birds, and that's nice. David, could you and I talk privately for a few minutes?" David reluctantly followed Janet to a small office. Anna remained in the library, pretending to read but clearly worried about the conversation happening behind closed doors. "David, I need to ask you about Anna," Janet began. "Do you understand that she's not your family?" "Yes," David said quietly. "And you know that we're still looking for a real family for you to live with?" David nodded but didn't speak. "What would you think about moving to a different place where you could meet other children your age? Maybe make friends with kids instead of adults?" David's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to leave Anna. She's the only person who doesn't think I'm broken." "You're not broken, David. You're a wonderful boy who's been through some hard times. Then why do all the families send me back?" Janet didn't have a good answer for this question. David's previous foster families had complained about his silence, his nightmares, and his difficulty following rules. But these behaviors seemed to have improved significantly since he befriended Anna. "Sometimes it takes time to find the right match," Janet said finally. "Anna already matches me," David replied. "She understands what it's like when people don't want you." This statement hit Janet harder than she expected. She realized that David saw his relationship with Anna as mutual support, rather than dependency. They were both outcasts who had found acceptance with each other. After her conversation with David, Janet spoke with Anna directly. This was more challenging because of Anna's communication difficulties, but Janet wanted to understand her perspective. "You and David are close friends," Janet observed. Anna nodded. "He good boy. Just sad and scared. Do you understand that David needs a permanent family, someone who can take care of him properly?" Anna's expression became more serious. "I know. I hope he find good family who see how special he is." "What if his new family doesn't want him to have contact with you?" Anna was quiet for a long moment. "Then I be sad, but I want what best for David. I not keep him from having real family." Janet was surprised by Anna's mature response. She had expected possessiveness or denial, but Anna clearly understood the situation's complexity. "Have you ever thought about what would happen if David had to move away?" Janet asked. "Yes," Anna said softly. "I think about it every day. But loving someone means wanting them to be happy, even if it hurt you." That evening, Janet reviewed Anna's file more carefully. Anna had been born into a loving family but lost everything in a tragic accident. She had spent decades being passed from one placement to another, never finding stability or acceptance. Despite this history of rejection, she had maintained her capacity for love and generosity. Janet also looked at David's progress reports since arriving at Sunshine Care Home. His improvement was undeniable. He was sleeping through the night, participating in group activities, and showing interest in learning. His therapist noted that David had started talking about his parents' death in a healthy way, processing his grief instead of hiding from it. All of this positive change seemed connected to his friendship with Anna. Janet faced a difficult decision. Professional protocol suggested separating David from an inappropriate attachment, but the evidence showed that this relationship was helping David heal in ways that professional intervention had failed to achieve. Late that night, Janet called her supervisor to discuss the situation. "The attachment is deeper than I initially thought," Janet explained, "and honestly, it seems to be helping both of them." "But what happens when we find David a family?" Robert asked. "If he's too attached to this woman, he might sabotage the placement. Or maybe he'll be healthier and more ready for adoption, because he's learned to trust again." Robert was silent for a moment. "This is highly irregular, Janet. We don't typically encourage relationships between adult residents and children in care." "I know. But sometimes irregular situations require flexible solutions. What are you proposing?" "I want to continue monitoring their relationship while actively searching for David's permanent placement. If we find a family willing to maintain contact with Anna, we move forward. If not, we'll gradually prepare David for separation." Robert agreed to this plan, but with strict conditions. Janet would visit weekly to ensure David's emotional health remained stable. 6 weeks after Janet's decision to allow David and Anna's friendship to continue, a potential family came forward. The Peterson family had been looking to adopt an older child and seemed genuinely interested in David's case. Tom and Linda Peterson arrived at Sunshine Care Home on a sunny Thursday morning. They were a middle-aged couple with no children of their own, and they had completed all the required training for adopting a child with trauma history. Mrs. Rodriguez prepared David for the meeting, explaining that a nice family wanted to meet him and possibly give him a permanent home. "Do I have to go with them?" David asked nervously. "Not today," Mrs. Rodriguez assured him. "This is just a meeting to see if you might like each other." David found Anna in the craft room before the meeting. She was teaching a new resident how to fold paper flowers, her patient voice guiding the woman through each step. "Anna, some people want to adopt me," David said quietly. Anna stopped folding and looked at David with a mixture of happiness and sadness. "That wonderful news," she said, though her voice sounded forced. "I don't want to leave you," David said, tears starting in his eyes. Anna put down her paper and hugged David gently. "I always know this day would come. I want you to have real family, real home. But you're my real family," David protested. "I love you like family," Anna said softly, "but I can't give you everything you need. These people might be able to." David pulled away from Anna's hug and looked at her seriously. "What if I don't like them? What if they don't like me?" "Then we wait for different family," Anna said. "But you have to try. Promise me you try." David nodded reluctantly and went to meet the Petersons. The meeting took place in the family visiting room, a cheerful space with comfortable couches and children's books. Janet introduced David to Tom and Linda, who seemed nervous but eager to connect with him. "Hi, David," Linda said with a warm smile. "We've heard wonderful things about you." David sat quietly in his chair, answering their questions with 1 or 2 words. He told them about school, his favorite subjects, and his hobbies, but he didn't show any enthusiasm. "David likes to make things with paper," Janet offered, trying to help the conversation flow. "That's interesting," Tom said. "Do you have anything you've made that you could show us?" David looked toward the door, clearly wishing Anna could come in with him. "I left my stuff in the craft room," he said. "Maybe you could bring some things to show us next time we visit," Linda suggested. The meeting continued for an hour, with the Petersons asking appropriate questions and David giving polite but distant answers. When it ended, everyone agreed to meet again the following week. After the Petersons left, Janet found David in his room, lying on his bed and staring at the ceiling. "How do you think that went?" Janet asked. "They seem nice," David said without emotion, "but you don't seem excited about them." David sat up and looked at Janet. "They want a kid who's normal." "I'm not normal. When they find out how weird I am, they'll send me back like the others did." "What makes you think you're weird?" "I have nightmares. I can't sleep without a light on. I get scared when people drive too fast. I don't like loud noises, and I want to stay friends with Anna, but they probably won't let me." Janet realized that David's previous failed placements had convinced him that he was fundamentally flawed. His friendship with Anna had helped him feel accepted, but it hadn't erased his fear of rejection. Did you ask them about staying in touch with Anna? Janet asked. No. I was afraid they'd say no, and then I'd know for sure they don't understand me. Over the next week, David's behavior began to change. He became withdrawn again, spending most of his time with Anna but barely speaking even to her. During their paper folding sessions, he made only simple designs instead of the complex sculptures he had been creating. Anna noticed the change and tried to encourage David. You not excited about new family? She asked. What's the point? David replied. They'll just decide they don't want me anyway. Maybe these people different. They're not different. All grown-ups are the same. They say they want to help, but really they just want normal kids who don't cause problems. Anna thought about this for a moment. You know what I think? What? I think you scared they take you away from me. And I think you using that scared feeling to push them away first. David looked surprised. Anna had identified something he hadn't even admitted to himself. Maybe, David said quietly. David, I want to tell you something important, Anna said. I've been in places like this most of my life. I know what it's like to be afraid of people leaving. But you different from me. How am I different? You still young. You can still have real family, real home. I too old now and I look too different. But you beautiful smart boy, you deserve chance at happiness. What if they don't let me see you anymore? Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she kept her voice steady. Then we make sure these last days together are so full of love that you carry me in your heart forever. The second meeting with the Petersons was scheduled for the following Tuesday. This time they planned to take David out for lunch and spend more time getting to know him. The night before the meeting, David couldn't sleep. He found Anna in the common room, working on a complicated paper dragon by the light of a small lamp. Can't sleep either? Anna asked when she saw David. I keep thinking about tomorrow, David said, sitting down next to her. What you thinking? I want to tell them about you, but I'm scared they'll think I'm too attached to this place. Anna set down her paper dragon and looked at David seriously. You know what I think you should do? What? I think you should tell them truth. Tell them about me, about how we friends, about how you feel. If they good people, they understand. If they don't understand, then they not right family for you. But what if no one understands? What if I never find a family because I'm too complicated? Anna took David's hand in hers. Then you stay here with me and we be family together. But I think you braver than you know. And I think right family will love all of you, including the part that loves me. The next day, David met the Petersons at a family restaurant near the care home. They ordered pizza and tried to have casual conversation, but David remained quiet and reserved. Halfway through lunch, Linda noticed that David wasn't eating much. Are you okay, David? You seem a little sad today. David looked down at his plate, then back at Linda. Anna's words echoed in his mind. Tell them the truth. I am sad, David said quietly. What's making you sad? Tom asked gently. David took a deep breath. I have a best friend at the home. Her name is Anna. She's a grown-up, but she's my friend. I'm scared that if I come live with you, I won't be able to see her anymore. The Petersons exchanged glances. This wasn't something they had expected to discuss. Tell us about Anna, Linda said. David's face lit up for the first time during their meetings. She's really smart and kind. She taught me how to make paper animals and birds. When I had an asthma attack, she helped me breathe. She listens to me and never makes me feel like I'm weird or broken. She sounds like a very special person, Tom said. She is, but she looks different because she was in a fire when she was little. Some people are scared of her, but she's the nicest person I know. David paused, then continued with more confidence. I know you want a normal kid who doesn't have problems, but I do have problems. I get scared sometimes, and I miss my parents, and I need people who understand that Anna is important to me. Linda felt tears starting in her eyes. David, we don't want a normal kid. We want you. With all your feelings and friendships and everything that makes you who you are. Really? David asked, surprised. Really, Tom confirmed. And if Anna is important to you, then she's important to us too. We'd love to meet her. David stared at them in disbelief. You want to meet Anna? Of course, Linda said. Anyone who helped you through hard times and taught you to create beautiful things sounds like someone we'd like to know. For the first time in weeks, David smiled a genuine smile. She would like that. She was worried that no family would understand our friendship. Well, we'd like to show her that some families do understand, Tom said. When they returned to Sunshine Care Home, David ran to find Anna. She was in the garden, sitting on a bench and feeding birds with breadcrumbs she had saved from lunch. Anna, Anna, David called, running toward her. They want to meet you. What? Anna looked confused. The Peterson family. I told them about you and they want to meet you. They said if you're important to me, then you're important to them too. Anna's eyes filled with tears. They really said that? Yes, will you come meet them? Please? Anna wiped her eyes and nodded. Yes, I meet them. David led Anna back into the building, where the Petersons were waiting in the family room with Janet. When Anna walked in, Linda and Tom stood up to greet her. Anna felt nervous, aware of how her appearance might affect these people who were considering adopting David. But when Linda smiled warmly and extended her hand, Anna felt some of her anxiety fade. You must be Anna, Linda said. David has told us so much about you. Nice to meet you, Anna said slowly, her words careful but clear. David says you taught him origami, Tom said. We'd love to see some of your work. David quickly brought out some of the paper sculptures he and Anna had made together. As Anna explained their techniques and shared the stories behind each creation, 3 months after meeting the Petersons, David was ready to move to his new home. The transition had been carefully planned, with David spending weekends with his new family while maintaining his daily routine with Anna during the week. The Petersons had visited Sunshine Care Home regularly, getting to know not just David but Anna as well. They brought supplies for the craft room and even learned how to make simple origami figures. Anna had taught Linda how to fold paper cranes, and Tom had learned to make paper boats that actually floated in water. You know, Linda told Anna during one visit, David wasn't the only one who needed a friend. Tom and I have been trying to have children for 15 years. We felt like failures as parents before we even got the chance to be parents. You will be wonderful parents, Anna assured her. You have good hearts. How do you know? Linda asked. Because you see David for who he is, not what his problems are. And you're not afraid of me, even though I look scary to most people. Anna, you don't look scary, Tom said gently. You look like someone who has survived difficult things and still chose to be kind. These conversations helped Anna feel confident about David's future. She could see that the Petersons genuinely cared about David's happiness, not just their own desire to become parents. As David's moving day approached, Anna worked on a special project. She spent hours in the craft room, creating an elaborate paper sculpture that told the story of their friendship. It showed a lonely bird finding another lonely bird, and together they built a beautiful nest surrounded by flowers and butterflies. This is for your new room, Anna told David when she gave him the sculpture. So you remember that love makes family, not just blood. David hugged the sculpture carefully. I'm going to put it right by my window so I can see it every morning. And when you look at it, you remember that even when we're not together, we still family in our hearts. The night before David left, Anna had trouble sleeping. She was happy for David but sad for herself. The care home would feel empty without his laughter and constant questions about paper folding. David couldn't sleep either. He found Anna in the common room where she was reading an old magazine by lamplight. I'm scared, David admitted, sitting down next to her. Scared of what? What if I forget how to make the paper animals you taught me? What if I forget the stories you told me? What if I forget you? Anna smiled her crooked smile. You want to know secret? What secret? When you teach someone something from your heart, it becomes part of them forever. You not forget because what I taught you is now part of who you are. Will you forget me? Impossible, Anna said firmly. You first person in long time who made me feel like I matter. You helped me remember that I have good things to give to world. The next morning, the Peterson family arrived to pick up David and his belongings. David had packed his clothes, books, and the paper sculptures he had made with Anna. But his most precious possession was the story sculpture Anna had created for him. Staff members and residents gathered in the lobby to say goodbye. Many of the people who had initially avoided Anna now came to thank her for her kindness to David and other children in the facility. You made a difference here, Mrs. Rodriguez told Anna. The children's wing hasn't been the same since you started helping with crafts. Anna felt proud, but also worried about what would happen to the craft program after David left. She had only started helping because of her friendship with him. As if reading her thoughts, Mrs. Rodriguez continued. We were hoping you might consider staying involved with our children's activities. You have a natural gift for working with kids who have been through trauma." Anna looked surprised. "You want me to keep helping? If you're willing, we could make it official, give you a volunteer position in our therapeutic arts program." Anna had never had an official job or title. The idea of being needed, of having a purpose beyond just existing, filled her with excitement. "Yes," Anna said quickly. "Yes, I would like that very much." David overheard this conversation and grinned. "See, Anna? You're going to help lots of kids now, not just me." When it was time for David to leave, he and Anna stood in the parking lot together. Other residents watched from windows, touched by the obvious love between the unlikely pair. "Remember what I told you about the paper birds?" Anna said, adjusting David's jacket. "That sometimes you have to leave the safe place to find where you really belong," David recited. "And what else? That family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about heart," Anna nodded. "You found your nest with Peterson family, but you always have place in my heart too." "You'll visit me next weekend, right?" David asked anxiously. "Every weekend, until you get too busy with your new life to want visits from old lady like me." "I'll never be too busy for you, Anna. You're my family." David hugged Anna tightly and she hugged him back. Around them, people who had once avoided Anna now smiled at the beautiful bond between the scarred woman and the healing child. Linda Peterson approached Anna. "Thank you," she said simply. "Thank you for taking care of our son before we even knew he existed." "Thank you for letting me keep loving him," Anna replied. As the Peterson family drove away with David, Anna waved until the car disappeared. She felt sad but also hopeful. David was going to have the life he deserved and she would still be part of it. 6 months later, Anna had settled into her new role as a volunteer in the children's therapeutic arts program. She worked with kids who had been through various traumas, teaching them to create beauty with their hands while processing their emotions. David visited every weekend, bringing stories about his new school, his friends, and his life with the Petersons. He had learned to ride a bike, joined a soccer team, and was even teaching origami to kids in his class. "My teacher asked me to bring you to school sometime," David told Anna during one visit. "She wants to learn how you make the complicated dragons." "You want me to come to your school?" Anna asked, surprised. "Of course. I tell everyone about you. I tell them you're my first mom's memory teacher." "You're what?" "You taught me how to remember my first parents in a good way instead of just being sad about them. And you taught me that love doesn't run out, so I can love the Petersons too without forgetting my first parents." Anna realized that David had found a way to honor all the love in his life. His deceased parents, the Petersons, and her. He had learned that the heart was big enough for multiple kinds of family. 1 year after David left Sunshine Care Home, Anna received an invitation to his adoption ceremony. The Petersons wanted to make their relationship with David legally official, and they insisted that Anna be there as part of their extended family. At the courthouse, Anna sat in the front row with Tom's parents and Linda's sister. She wore her best dress and had practiced what she would say if anyone asked about her relationship to David. When the judge asked David if he wanted the Petersons to be his legal parents, David stood up proudly. "Yes, Your Honor. I want them to be my parents. And I want to keep my friendship with Anna, who taught me what family really means." The judge looked curious. "And what does family really mean, David?" David looked at Anna, then at the Petersons, then back at the judge. "Family means people who see the good in you even when you can't see it yourself. Family means never giving up on each other. And family means love doesn't have to look the same for everyone." After the ceremony, the Peterson family and Anna celebrated at David's favorite restaurant. Other diners noticed their unusual group: a traditional-looking couple, a boy with bright eyes and confident smile, and a woman whose scars told a story of survival. "Anna," Tom said during dinner, "Linda and I have been talking. We want you to know that you'll always have a place in our family. You're not just David's friend anymore. You're part of our family too." Anna felt tears in her eyes. "Really?" "Really," Linda confirmed.
"David is who he is partly because of your love."
"That makes you family." 2 years later, Anna received a phone call that would change her life again. A social worker from another city had heard about her work with traumatized children and wanted to offer her a paid position at a residential treatment center. "I don't have any official training," Anna explained during the phone interview. But you have something more valuable, the social worker replied. You have the ability to see past a child's problems to their potential. And you understand what it feels like to be rejected by society. Anna looked around her small room at Sunshine Care Home. She had been happy here, but the opportunity to help more children was tempting. That weekend, she discussed the offer with David and the Petersons. You should take it, David said immediately. Think of all the kids you could help. But it's 4 hours away, Anna said. I wouldn't see you as often. Anna, you taught me that love doesn't disappear when people aren't together, David said. Besides, I'm getting older. I don't need you to take care of me anymore, but other kids do. The Petersons agreed. You've given David the foundation he needed, Linda said. Now maybe it's time to share that gift with other children. 3 months later, Anna moved to her new job at Crossroads Treatment Center. She had her own small apartment and a title, Child Life Specialist. Her job was to help children process trauma through creative arts and emotional support. On her first day,